Respiration is just breathing, right? Wrong. Respiration is the chemical process that supplies the body with energy for all other life processes, like growth and repair of cells, muscle contraction, protein synthesis, and the likes. It happens to all living organisms or cells, not just in animal cells but also in plant cells. There are two types of respiration: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means with air, so it needs oxygen, while anaerobic respiration doesn't need oxygen. Good day, everyone. For today, our group will be discussing aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is one of the most essential processes in biology that keeps living organisms alive and functioning. At its core, aerobic respiration is the process by which cells break down glucose in the presence of oxygen to release energy stored in the form of ATP or adenosine triphosphate, which acts as a fuel that powers almost every activity inside the cell, like muscle contraction to nerve impulse transmission. Further discussion will be discussed by my other groupmates on the next slides. Thank you.
What is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is the process by which cells use oxygen to break down glucose, producing energy in the form of ATP, along with carbon dioxide and water as byproducts. It occurs in the mitochondria of most living organisms and is essential for sustaining life by providing energy for cellular functions. So, aerobic respiration is how cells use oxygen to break down sugar to produce energy. This process happens in mitochondria and releases carbon dioxide and water as waste. It provides the energy cells need to function and keep the body working. For example, imagine eating a slice of bread. The bread contains sugar. When you breathe in oxygen, your cells use that oxygen to break down the sugar from the bread. This creates energy your body uses to move, think, and grow. The process also makes carbon dioxide and water as leftovers. So, aerobic respiration is like your body's way of turning food and air into energy to keep you alive and active. That's all. Thank you.
So now, let's see the aerobic respiration diagram. As shown in the diagram, aerobic respiration is the process of breaking down glucose in the presence of oxygen to release energy. It has three main parts. First, we have glycolysis, where glucose is split into 2-pyruvic acid. This step happens in the cytoplasm and produces a small amount of energy, which is 2 ATP. Next is the Krebs cycle, which happens inside the mitochondria. Here, the pyruvic acid is further broken down, releasing carbon dioxide as waste. More importantly, it creates energy carriers that are passed on to the next stage. Finally, in the electron transport system, those energy carriers are used with the help of oxygen to produce the largest amount of energy, around 36 ATP. At the same time, oxygen combines with hydrogen to form a water as a byproduct. So overall, the diagram shows us that from just one glucose molecule, this cell can produce about 38 ATP, while also giving off carbon dioxide and water. This is why aerobic respiration is the most efficient way our cells makes energy. That's all.
Glycolysis is the first step of aerobic respiration, occurring in the cytosol where glucose is split into 2 molecules of ATP and 2 NADH, beginning the energy extraction process.
So again, our first step is glycolysis. It happens in the cytoplasm of the cell. It is also where the sugar molecule will split into two pieces that can produce energy that is called ATP, and it also sends out the special little helpers called NADH. Step 2. In the formation of acetyl coenzyme A, pyruvate is oxidized in the mitochondria, producing a 2-carbon acetyl group that binds with coenzyme A to form acetyl-CoA. So, in this stage, those smaller pieces that was mentioned earlier in the step 1 goes to the mitochondria, which is like the energy factory, and they are changed into new molecule called acetyl coenzyme A. So the step 3, the citric acid cycle takes place in a mitochondrial matrix where acetyl-CoA combines with oxaloacetate to form citric acid, which is then broken down to release. Now that we enter the citric acid cycle, it is also known as the Krebs cycle. And in this stage, acetyl coenzyme A joins with another molecule to form citric acid. And as the cycle continues, it produces more ATP and releases carbon dioxide, and also creates more energy helpers called NADH and FADH2. Step 4. The electron transport chain occurs in the inner mitochondrial membrane, where electrons from NADH and FADH2 are transferred through a series of protein, ultimately producing about 34 ATP molecules, using oxygen as the final electron acceptor. So, in the last step of the electron transport chain, which takes place in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, here the NADH and FADH2 from earlier steps help more electrons through a chain of proteins. These movements create a large amount of ATP, about 34 molecules.
That's right. Now these are the key points of aerobic respiration. First, aerobic respiration is the process of utilization of oxygen to break down glucose, amino acids, fatty acids to produce ATP, in which the cell uses oxygen to fully deoxidize these nutrients to generate energy in the form of ATP. Next, the pyruvate is then converted into acetyl-CoA in the mitochondria matrix. Thus, these happen after the glycolysis in the cytoplasm, where this results the pyruvate is shuttled into the mitochondria matrix, in which the pyruvate dehydrogenates the complexes that convert into the cold acetyl-CoA that release the NADH and the CO2. Furthermore, the Krebs cycles occur twice per glucose molecule, in which each glucose molecule yields into 2 pyruvate. Thus, the Krebs cycles turns twice per original glucose that generates NADH, FADH2, ATP or GTP, and CO2 in each turn. Moreover, the protein complexes are arranged on the inner mitochondria matrix so that the electron passes from one reacting molecules to the another. This is known as the electron transport chain, or ETC, that comprises a series of proton complexes embedded in the inner mitochondria matrix that electrons from NADH and FADH2 propagate through these complexes, pumping protons into the intermembrane space, that which creates or results a proton gradient or electrochemical potential that powers the ATP synthase, which is the final step that the ATP synthase produces ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate. That protons flow back into the mitochondria matrix through ATP synthase, a rotary enzyme that uses this proton motive force to drive the conversion of ADP and the inorganic phosphates. That would be all. Thank you.